there are some people who would say that I am a fan of Warhammer 40k. And those people are right. I love Warhammer. The building, the painting, the aesthetic, the playing, the general world and lore. Satirical, grimdark, sci-fi, over-the-top, gothic fantasy. I think that's awesome. What I don't love, however, is how overwhelming the world of Warhammer video games is, and how many of them are average to bad to just straight-up mobile cash grabs. PC Gamer recently ranked all of the Warhammer 40k games, and there are 48 entries on that list, which is insane. And they're from varied genres too. Squad-based first-person battles like Darktide to boomer shooters like Boltgun, third-person shooters like Space Marine, or the VR-exclusive battle system. Even Speed Freaks, a kart racer. Steam alone has 36 Warhammer 40k games. That's not including DLC, that's just base games. Now on my main channel, I've covered the old 40k MMO Eternal Crusade, which shut down, and then the mobile city builder Lost Crusade, which shut down. And now they're advertising the mobile card game Tacticus everywhere, which is just the latest of 5 heavily monetized mobile games. Unfortunately, the 40k game license has been thrown around so much they've achieved quantity at the cost of quality. So with so many Warhammer 40k games and ever-increasing budgets, why is Dawn of War 1, a game made in 2004, 20 years ago, still considered the best Warhammer 40k game? It ranks number 1 on that PC Gamer article, and if you search Steam for user reviews, the top 4 games are all Dawn of War 1, the base game and the 3 expansions. What did it do so well? But not only that, why is the worst Warhammer 40k game on Steam Dawn of War 3? What did the series do to drop off from the first place to the last place? To find out, I'm going to go back and replay the entire Dawn of War base campaign, discuss the DLC, and then crusade against some people in the online multiplayer, critiquing the gameplay, voice acting, graphics, sound, UI, bugs, and everything in between, to work out whether Dawn of War 1 was actually any good. So welcome, I'm Josh Strifehays. Grab your copy of the Codex Astartes, hop in the Rhino, and prepare to praise the Emperor as we walk softly and carry a big gun through Dawn of War 1. As usual, a massive thank you to all the supporters on Patreon who keep the channel alive and free from the taint of chaos. More information on how you can support at the end. For now, let's begin. Quick content warning, some of this video will just be me talking about Warhammer. And while this video is not sponsored, I do want to say a personal thank you to Noble Chairs for sending me their Warhammer 40k chair as soon as they found out I was doing a Dawn of War video because they're fans of the channel. So, big thumbs up there. This is a cardboard power fist, the thumb doesn't move. For anyone not familiar, Warhammer is a franchise all about plastic models and rolling lots of dice to simulate battles with those models, and 40k is the sci-fi version. Now, being a tabletop strategy game, a real-time strategy video game would be the perfect adaptation. You've got everything you need, units, buildings, lore, all the pieces are there. And they did try to bring 40k to the video game experience several times, starting with Space Crusade back in 1992. Now, most of these early titles were turn-based strategy, which is perfect for both the game of Warhammer and the limited PC power of the time. But real-time strategy was a small niche in gaming, almost entirely made up of PC gamers, and didn't translate well to the rapidly increasing console market and the popular rise of the first-person shooter genre. So in 2003, we got the very poorly received first-person shooter Fire Warrior, following the Tau Kais as they attempt to fight back Chaos. I've also reviewed that game on this channel before. This was the first 40k game to really attempt to leave the more niche hobby side and break into the mainstream, releasing on PS2 and PC, even having a review by the UK lads mag Maxim on the PS2 box cover. This game flopped hard, so the next game needed to return to what worked: niche strategy on the PC. So in 2004, we got Dawn of War, a strategy game by Relic Entertainment. Now, Relic knew one thing, and it was real-time strategy, because Relic had made Homeworld, one of the best sci-fi strategies, sitting at 93 on Metacritic, and then they made Impossible Creatures, another banger of a game about building a base, then making your own mashed-together creatures as your troops, still sitting overwhelmingly positive on Steam. Both Homeworld 1 and 2 were remastered by Gearbox recently and received very favourably. So with a company who knew sci-fi strategy games and a franchise all about sci-fi strategy, all the pieces were there for a good game. So let's boot it up and go and save planet Tartarus. Now, Warhammer 40k, especially for new fans, can feel really intimidating to get into because there is a hell of a lot of lore. Where do you even start? It's best not to think of Warhammer as a linear series of events that you need to understand, and more an overall setting that you can just plug cool fights into. A vibe, if you will. If you like over-the-top satirical sci-fi, you'll probably like Warhammer 40k. And if anyone ever tells you you're not a real fan unless you can name all the Primarchs and all the battles, report them to the Inquisition because they are wrong. In fact, Dawn of War 1 might be one of the best places to start, because not only is it relatively simple, it gets the vibe of what 40k is. That is a glorious opening movie. Bloodravens, Space Marines led by Gabriel Angelos against the Orcs led by whoever is the biggest orc. The models are accurate, weapons look and sound weighty, even the combat tactics used by both sides were lore accurate. And this is one thing we'll see Dawn of War do repeatedly. It feels like it gets the source material. This isn't just a Warhammer skin slapped onto another generic RTS game, it's a Warhammer 40k game. Now, technically speaking, playing this today does really show its age, because the base game doesn't have a windowed mode on PC, and getting it to play in widescreen needs a few mods. And as we'll see, in-game, the camera zoom is way too close and doesn't let you zoom out enough. You actually need a mod to zoom out anywhere near playable. The DLC Dark Crusade and the standalone game Soulstorm did eventually bring windowed mode and widescreen as standard, but the base game can feel rough for a modern gamer, especially if you have more than one monitor and alt-tabbing out the game is likely to make it crash. You've got 11 single-player campaign missions and then the multiplayer function, but from the main menu you'll be drawn to one button: Army Painter. The Dawn of War 1 campaign follows the Bloodravens, red and black Space Marines with off-white ceramic shoulder pads, and you can't change their colour in the campaign, but when you play multiplayer, you can customise your army's colour. The base game has Space Marines, Orcs, Eldar, and Chaos, with the DLC Winter Assault bringing the Imperial Guard, Dark Crusade bringing the Necrons and the Tau, and the expansion but also standalone game Soulstorm bringing the Sisters of Battle and the Dark Eldar. So with all DLCs in total, you've got 9 playable factions, and you can colour all of them individually. They're all relatively well balanced, except the Chaos who suck and the Sisters who are overpowered, which is remarkably accurate to the tabletop game of the time. The Army Painter lets you change the primary, secondary, accent and weapon colour, and the symbol you want displayed on the shoulder pads or the vehicles, and you can see how the scheme will look on both your basic infantry and a standard vehicle. My only real issue here is there's no manual logo painter. Armored Core, a game which came out in 1997 that I've also covered on this channel, let you design your own logo by painting pixel by pixel, which would then appear on your mech. With the amount of custom chapters players have come up with over the years, this would have been a perfect addition. But with the game being online, I can see why they didn't let you do this, because if they did, every other game would have been against the Dick Marines. But not only do you have variety in models, you have accuracy in the sculpts. Remember, this game is from 2004, and the models looked exactly like the models of the time. Indeed, the Rangers that don't get refreshed, they still look like this. The game hasn't gone for gritty realism, it's gone for make it look like the tabletop game, and it's succeeded. This carried over to the scenery too. It's chunky, it's got that high gothic vibe. The craters are large and obvious, the jungles are thick and dense. I think Dawn of War 1, while not being the most graphically advanced Warhammer game, definitely looks the most like a tabletop game of Warhammer 40k. One lovely graphical touch is you can zoom in pretty damn close to all the fights. So not only can you admire the animations of all the models, but some situational animations have been added. Remember the bit in the opening video where a dreadnought picks up and crushes an enemy? They do that in the game too. Now, before we jump straight into the single player campaign, another issue. While the campaign does a somewhat decent job of teaching you the basics through a hidden tutorial as the missions progress in complexity, it doesn't cover every mechanic, including some rather important ones. It doesn't mention character abilities or war gear or how to attach a character to a squad. The actual full tutorial is not found in the campaign menu, it's found in the skirmish game mode. This is likely because most RTS players want to instantly play with their friends, so they click skirmish first. The problem with this full tutorial is it's incredibly thorough, but also very, very boring.
Welcome to the Dawn of War tutorial. By listening to me and reading the text that appears in this message box, you will learn how to play a skirmish game. The mouse is your primary method of surveying the battle, selecting units and structures, and issuing orders. The mouse controls the camera. The camera represents your current view of the battlefield. To pan the camera, simply move the mouse pointer to the edge of the screen. Do this now. To rotate the camera to gain a different view of the battle, press the Alt key and move your mouse. Do this now. You can zoom in on something to see it up close by spinning the mouse wheel forward. Do this now. To return the camera to the game.
You've got a clear but emotionless presenter, represented by this librarian shoulder pad, a very sterile battlefield, purely mechanical instructions. Now, a new player is excited to have this game. You're training them to command legions of super soldiers. A tutorial is likely the first experience a brand new player is going to have, and it's just so dull. You could have made this such an amazing, engaging experience. This was definitely tacked on as an afterthought and has nowhere near the attention to detail or flavour that the rest of the game has. I'll look at the full multiplayer element later because amazingly the servers are still online 20 years later. So narrative campaign first, choose a difficulty, normal, hard or insane, and these labels are lies. I discovered after finishing the game that normal actually means all enemies have 50% health. Hard mode is 100% health, as they should be, and insane gives them 150% health. So actually, these should read as easy, normal, and hard, but the campaign isn't really about challenge as much as the power fantasy of crushing things as the Emperor's finest, following the solid but also rather predictable story. You've got 11 missions, each between 20 and 40 minutes long, depending on how much you want to build up before you steamroll the map. I'll go normal, because I didn't realise this is actually easy until the end, and we begin on planet Tartarus. It's been invaded by orcs, and the Imperial Guard are bravely holding the line. I will call them the Astra Militarum when I am dead. You are in the Imperial Guard.
Hold the line! In the name of the Emperor, you will not falter! We can't hold! Run for your lives! Cowards! You will fight, or you will die.
I am Captain Gabriel Angelos of the Blood Ravens 3rd Company. Status.
My lord, forgive me. We have done all we can to stop the orcs, but we have failed. My men's lives are yours.
You stood your ground in the face of the Emperor's foes. You've done your duty. If your men have failed you, I will leave their judgment in your hands.
Thank you, my lord.
I am not here for your thanks. This port must be held if we are to maintain troops and supply lines to the planet's surface. That is why we are here. Now, what of the wounded and the civilians?
Stranded. We have few ships.
Then you shall have more. All Blood Raven flights execute Protocol 23 and initiate civilian evacuation. We will dispatch the ground forces.
Yes, my lord.
Ground forces, my lord. But the orcs have retreated.
You must know your enemy to defeat them, Colonel. Orcs only retreat to regroup. They will keep coming until you or they are dead. Brothers, let us destroy this alien filth! What a glorious day for a battle! As the Stronghold, our frontline battle headquarters is currently being assembled. We should proceed with caution until it is finished.
Straight away, one of my favourite design choices. The in-game cutscenes, while they may be pre-rendered, are still made using the actual in-game engine. So the models, the scenery, the lighting, the combat effects, the sounds, the shooting, the movement, and the death animations are all from the game. They are what you will see when you play. There are even moments where cutscenes show troops going into cover, and the shield icon representing cover appears above the model in the cutscene. Or the characters will use special attacks in the cutscene cutscenes which you can then use in battle. This all serves to blend the cutscenes and the gameplay together really nicely. There's no jarring graphical or mechanical switch between cutscene and gameplay, and it means one of them can end straight into the other and it feels fine. The cutscenes can bookend the levels and not feel out of place. It also makes identifying the important characters super easy because they all use the same model whenever you see them. It seems we've also got voice acting. Actually quite good voice acting. Now there are moments of cheesy, campy goodness, never quite reaching Command & Conquer levels, but still fun. Gabriel Angelos is voiced by Paul Dobson, an extensive voice actor known mostly for Naraku in the anime Inuyasha, and Paul's brothers Brian and Michael Dobson, also voice actors, provide most of the supporting Space Marine voices. Librarian Isidore is Mark Oliver, known to me for being Vecna in the MMORPG Dungeons & Dragons Online. Farsia Maka is Nicole Oliver, known for being Princess Celestia in My Little Pony, and almost all of the bad guys are Scott McNeil, known mostly for being evil masked figure in the second live-action Scooby-Doo film. Some of you, however, may know his work from the unknown indie hit Dragon Ball Z, where he voiced Piccolo for over 200 episodes. The strange thing about voice actors is they often work on the same projects repeatedly, so almost all of these guys went on to work on the Lego Ninjago series and then the film Sausage Party. So we control the Blood Angels, led by Gabriel Angelos, all-around good guy with a guilty conscience about something. Standard real-time strategy camera and UI. You can zoom in and really admire the models, but as I mentioned, you need a zoom-out mod to really feel the scale of the maps. You have a mini-map down to the bottom left and then controls of whatever you're currently clicking on to the bottom right. First, you need to build a base, move some troops around and hunt down some orcs. The whole campaign takes place on planet Tartarus, which is from Greek mythology and refers to hell, or a hellish part of the deepest underworld, where the enemies of the gods, or those to be tormented, were locked away, and this will be thematically relevant later. Now, not everything can build. Your basic construction builder is a servitor. These guys can't fight, but my god, they can put up a building quickly. Click a servitor, select a building, and place it down. Now, the world is actually divided into an invisible grid, so when placing a building, it will snap to the closest grid square. This means you can never block yourself in, and I personally like this because it helps the base look really neat and tidy. Your main building is the headquarters. This controls upgrades for other buildings and makes servitors. Other things like the barracks, the machine cult, and the orbital relays build other more powerful troops, and support buildings like armories let you research buffs for those troops, but you'll gain access to those as the campaign progresses. Our first objective is to build a chapel barracks and get us some Space Marines. To build anything, you need two resources: power and requisition. Now, power's the easy one. Just build power plants. You can have 5 power plants or plasma coils for every headquarter building you have. The other resource is requisition. That is generated by taking and holding strategic points, and doing this needs troops. So let's look at infantry, because Dawn of War does things a slightly different way to most RTSs of the time. Your standard real-time strategy, say Command & Conquer, you would build 1 unit per click from a specific building, then you select a load of units and send them into battle. When they die, you just build more. But in Dawn of War, you don't build individual units, you build squads. A single Space Marine squad starts out as 4 models and can be reinforced with additional models up to 8 plus a captain by using the little upgrade panel down here, effectively building a model for the squad within the squad itself. Later on, you'll unlock weapon upgrades which give a single model within that squad one of 4 heavy weapons. This means that as long as a squad isn't completely wiped out, they can retreat, and you can then reinforce them with more models up to maximum and then attack again. And because you can reinforce while in combat, as soon as a single model dies, just micromanage and start building another one. This means small skirmishes can last a while and be very important, because you cannot risk leaving a single enemy model alive or that squad will return to full strength. A building or squad can have up to 6 upgrades or things to add to it queued at any single time. All of the models within a squad will move wherever you tell the squad to move or attack whatever target you give the squad. This means if you group select 8 squads, but each squad is maxed out at 8 Marines and a single captain for a total of 9, you'll actually be watching 72 models move, which looks awesome, but only actually issuing orders to 8 squads, which keeps things manageable. You are still micromanaging, but not to an impossible degree. One aspect which I really like is if you order a squad to move somewhere and they happen to pass by an enemy unit or building, provided they have weapons which can be fired while moving, they will shoot at that enemy as they move past it without stopping. Some weapons, however, like heavy bolters, rocket launchers, or the Tau pulse rifles can't be fired while moving and need to be set up. You can see the setup bar appear whenever you target something. Now these weapons do way more damage, but you're forced to stay still, so it's a trade-off. This can be an issue because explosions from heavy weapons or grenades can knock models in your squad down or fling them away, meaning you have to wait for the models to get back up and set up to fire again. You can see the damage a model will do with their ranged attack or melee attack in the panel to the bottom center. When taking damage, each individual model of a squad does have their own health bar, shown in green under that model, and the squad overall has morale. Morale drops when a squad takes damage, loses a model, or gets hit by a specific anti-morale weapon, and if you lose all your morale, the squad becomes broken. While broken, the squad's accuracy drops to 20%, but their speed increases by 20%, encouraging you to pull them out of combat and run away, because squad morale recovers while out of combat, or by special characters giving them a buff. Your basic infantry can capture the strategic points you need to produce requisition, and while capturing a point, the squad is unable to fight back if attacked. You can watch the animation of the slow raising of your team's flag over that point, and I like this. If you zoom in, it feels like an event. The level of detail, everyone's kneeling down. Even the flagpole has an attached computer terminal. It looks great. The squad design applies mostly to infantry, not characters or vehicles, so let's look at characters. Starting with your main man, Gabriel Angelos. Characters have far more hit points, way higher morale, and do much higher damage. A character can easily wipe out an enemy squad solo with just their basic attacks. But characters also have activated abilities. Select a character and check the panel to the bottom right, like the librarian knowing Smite, a powerful psychic blast which can scatter infantry, or the captains having Rally, which restores squad morale. Using a character's ability at the right time can change the tide of a fight, but to make it even easier to command characters and squads around, you can attach a character to a squad. And if you do that, they'll now follow the same orders you give the rest of the squad. And when you select the squad, you can still use the character's special abilities. Finally, along with requisition and power, you've got infantry and vehicle caps. These are the most you can make. You can increase these by upgrading your headquarters by spending vast amounts of resources. The caps aren't one for one, however. A basic Space Marine squad actually takes up 2 infantry spaces, and you can see this cost when you build stuff. Some of the more powerful vehicles actually take up 3 or 4 vehicle slots. This keeps battles mid-size. It's totally possible to have 50 Space Marines, 3 tanks, some dreadnoughts, and a few characters on the battlefield, but you won't be getting thousands of models. Unless you play Imperial Guard, because that's kind of their whole thing. This strikes a really nice balance. Every unit matters not just because of what it does, but because of the fact that it must take up a space from your total cap. If you want to max out your 20 infantry spaces with 10 squads of Space Marines, you can. But then you'll face another issue. Most units have hard counters, as in another unit that they will just not beat, they will immediately die to. It's quite rock, paper, scissors, until the Necrons get involved. Then it's rock, paper, scissors, Necrons, haha, screw you, you can't kill us. So infantry, both light and heavy, vehicles and buildings each have weaknesses. Take the Space Marine squad, for example. With a leveled enough headquarters and an armory, you can give them special weapons. Say, a few heavy bolters. That would increase the range of the upgraded squads and make them excel against heavy infantry, but you get ripped apart in melee. But if you give someone a heavy flamer, now you're way better up close, but your range is shorter. Rocket launchers are devastating against buildings and slow-moving vehicles, but won't touch fast-moving infantry, so you need to build with variation, at least in theory. In practice, dreadnoughts. But we'll get to that soon. So you've built some buildings, attached your characters to some squads, and captured some strategic points. Time to engage the enemy, but before charging into battle, be smart. Use the terrain, find some cover. Cover comes in 2 flavors, light and heavy, and when you move into cover, you'll see a little shield icon above the models' heads. Important note though, cover counts on specific models within a unit, not the unit as a whole, unless the entire unit is standing in cover. Light cover, like small bomb craters and jungles, reduces the damage you take by 25%, while slowing your movement by 10%. And heavy cover, like dense rubble or larger craters, reduces incoming damage by 50%, but slows your movement by 25%. Being in either type of cover vastly increases morale regeneration too. So Gabriel and the boys push forward and capture a strategic point. If you have a spare servitor, you can build a listening post on a captured point, which reinforces it, increasing the requisition gained and, when upgraded, arming it with anti-infantry and anti-vehicle weapons. It's important to note you can only build buildings within the range of influence of your headquarters, this green line you can see on the floor when you click on your headquarters. This means you can't build buildings way out in random places. However, if you put a listening post on a captured strategic point, you do give yourself a small range of influence to build within. This will matter when you can build defensive turrets later. Gabriel orders you to do this because the first mission is a hidden tutorial, but units will always respond with a voice clip whenever you click on them or issue an order. This is the first flaw of the campaign, because the narrative audio of Gabriel speaking to you overlaps with the in-game audio of you issuing commands, and it can often sound like this.
Well done. We have captured several strategic points. Capturing strategic points and building listening posts on them earns us more requisition resource, which we can use when we build squads and equipment.
Damage. Engaging the enemy.
Look, an orc camp. And look there, a break in the spaceport's defensive
What's your
wall.
order?
They must have blasted their way in. We must
Weapons at
destroy
ready.
this
Yes,
orc
my
camp
lord.
and any others
Engaging
these
the
foul
enemy.
creatures may have constructed.
Units reply to everything. Issuing an order, they'll say something. Build something, they'll say something. Attack something, they'll say something. Now, the lines are great, memorable, iconic even. But this can get repetitive if you're issuing a lot of orders quite quickly. There's only so many times I can be told to walk softly and carry a big gun before it gets repetitive.
Agreed. Follow my lead. We shall know no fear. For the Emperor. Confirmed. I shall not fail. I shall not fail. We shall know no fear. Agreed. We are united in his service. For the glory of the Emperor. Today the enemy shall know fear.
Right, hunt down the orcs. We're shown how to upgrade one member of a squad to a heavy bolter, and this brings a small but very noticeable mechanical issue. If every model in a squad has the same weapon, and thus the same range, when you order that squad to attack something, the whole squad will move into that range and begin shooting. But if one model in the squad has a weapon with a longer range, say a heavy bolter, then when you order the squad to attack, only that model needs to be in range, and then the squad will stop moving and only that model will begin shooting. This can lead to situations where you order a squad to attack a building and you end up with just one guy slowly firing away while 8 others stand around and watch. Sometimes you'll even be within retaliation range of that building's fire and you'll be losing models without giving your full firepower back. Because of this range issue, it's often best to order a squad to move towards something until even the basic bolters begin to fire automatically, letting you know you're in range and then giving the order to direct attack, which brings the heavy weapons in, because managing ranges to engage your full firepower really matters. Save some Imperial Guard, kill some more orcs, and then encounter the most dangerous of foes, a small choke point. Because a squad is made up of several models, the footprint of a squad can change in size if the models begin to spread out, and they can to a certain degree. Combine this with how vehicles have a quite wide, invisible area around them where they try not to interact with either other vehicles or other squads, and then how squads and vehicles cannot pass through each other. Getting through any small tight pass becomes a nightmare for the pathfinding, especially if the area on the other side is also small. The game kind of assumes you're only going to be moving 1 or 2 squads or 1 or 2 vehicles at a time, when in reality you want to take way more. This can mean your planned wave assault, designed to overwhelm the enemy defenses all in one go, can actually become a small trickle of troops easily dealt with one at a time by the enemy's defenses. Kill some more orcs and then Gabriel meets his old friend, Librarian Isidore.
I am honored to be in the presence of a librarian. I wish to know how my men can better serve you.
We shall wait for the captain to finish his prayers. I saw you stand against the orcs. You are a brave man, Colonel. I wish I could say the same of your men.
I shall strengthen their resolve, my lord.
See that you do, or we shall do it for you. You have something you wish to say. Say it, Colonel.
How did you know?
Even without my psychic gifts, it is obvious. Speak.
Is it true your company eradicated a heresy on the planet of Cyrene recently? An exterminatus, down to the planet's last man, woman and child.
Colonel, your company is welcome, but such questions are not.
Do not ask the captain about Cyrene if you intend to remain in his good graces. My lord, my Tartarus 37th Imperial Guard Regiment stand ready to serve you in protecting the city. They wish to make amends for...
They will have many opportunities to prove themselves warriors worthy of the Emperor. The Blood Ravens are leaving the city. Its protection is in your hands.
I will ready my men. May I ask what your next course of action is?
Orcs only respect strength. I intend to show them that we have it in ample supply.
In the 40k universe, librarians are psykers, people connected to the magical, chaotic energy of the warp. This means they can use a form of sci-fi magic, but they're also especially susceptible to the powerful temptations of chaos, and Isidore sounds all kinds of sketchy, so keep an eye on this guy. This is also the first mention of something happening on planet Cyrene, something Gabriel doesn't want to talk about. And Mission 2 onwards all start with a data video intro, a fly-through of the planet's situation, and Gabriel giving us some more context.
The situation on the planet Tartarus is grim. While the Blood Ravens crushed the main Orc offensive at the spaceport, the bulk of their force is not engaged. They gather in the wilderness, awaiting a critical mass of bodies that will overwhelm the Imperial forces in a green wave of death and destruction. The Blood Ravens will not allow this to occur.
Remember, each mission is linear. There are no choices to make, and the only fail state is lose all your troops and buildings. Even if the mission says you must do this quickly, you don't need to. So in this mission, we're going to learn about stealth. That's right, it's mandatory stealth time, because this is an early 2000s game. Scouts can use the cloak ability. While cloaked, they cannot be seen except by enemy commander units, so you can bypass squads unnoticed, and then attempt to snipe any important single characters. Now this is extremely situational, and is often more trouble than it's worth to do, but we will use this once later. This is also the mission we begin to see disagreements between Gabriel and Isidore.
I do not care for all this sneaking about.
I know, old friend. You always have preferred the direct approach.
We have the Imperial Guard. Why not send them into battle instead of treating them like glorified shepherds? If we meet the Orcs in force, they cannot possibly stand before us.
We have fought the Orc 100 times before. They thrive on war. A direct assault on them would likely improve their morale. The casualties would be enormous.
What are the Imperial Guard for if not to die for their Emperor? At the very least, we should retain a regiment to remain at our call. We have little support this far out. We would not want to be remembered for our carelessness.
We, old friend? Or me?
I know what this is about. There was nothing you could have done to save Cyrene.
Do not mention that place again, Isidore. Cyrene was my homeworld. My responsibility.
So there's some tension, some drama. Oh, I like this bit. While cloaked, you pass by some orcs killing some Imperial Guard, and your first instinct is to help, but if you do that, you'll die. This is a nice in-game mechanical lesson to pick your battles and focus on the greater objective. So we take out some orcs and the Bloodraven Company arrives, and we can stop all this silly sneaking about and get back to base building and charging in. And this lovely moment. I'll start base building because I understand the process from the last mission, and I'll just intuitively send out some cloaked scouts to scout the area around me. The mechanic I've seen in this mission. I always go on about stacking mechanics and how a tutorial should introduce A, then B, then let the player use A and B together, and it's done exactly that here. We upgrade our stronghold, and now listening posts can make skull probes, which are pointless units and you'll never build them again. Marine squads can now also have rocket launchers, and this leads to a lovely set moment where you need to take out some buildings but you can't reach them, so rocket barrage over this river turns them to dust. From here it's very much a case of win a battle, reinforce your squad, then move on. The only issue is the mission is clear the valley of all the orcs, and with your slow movement speed, I've effectively won in the first 20 minutes, but need to spend another 20 exploring every path to find every hidden enemy. Valley cleared, but our librarian doesn't seem completely focused.
We completed our sweep of the area and can find no more orcs.
Indeed. Tell your squad to move ahead and clear the company's path.
Yes, brother librarian.
I will suffer no trespass.
That was a Chaos Sorcerer, and if they're trying to psychically communicate with Isidore, Chaos Corruption cannot be far behind. So mission 3. help the Imperial Guard defend what's left of the main city from orcs while we try to assist evacuating the citizens, but Isidore again questions Gabriel's tactics.
My lord, I have taken the liberty of stationing my Imperial Guard around the key facilities, including the spaceport and power plant.
Your initiative is admirable, Colonel, but I need you to pull your men back to this location where they can concentrate their defense.
I do not agree with this course of action. Why are we sitting back waiting for the orcs to strike? We should attack! Surely it is better than doing nothing.
You would have us meet the orcs on open ground? That would be madness. It is written in the Codex Astartes that this situation calls for a defensive action.
Of course. You are right. Perhaps patience is the better virtue here.
Isidore and Gabriel's relationship seems very confrontational, but they do go back a long way. They're old friends with a deep respect for one another, and that does show. In this mission, you get to control some Imperial Guard squads. Each model in a squad is weak, but the squads have way more models, so they're a good defensive block. You also get access to building bolter turrets, your first defensive building, and these can be a bit of a trap for new players. The resources and time they take to build, you're often better spending on more squads of Marines for the added mobility and weapon upgrades. Yes, turrets are safe, but the best defense in Dawn of War is an overwhelming offense. If you just sit and wait for the enemy to come to you, you will always lose. So now comes the slow but somewhat effective tactic of capturing a post, putting a single bolter turret down next to it, reinforcing with squads, and then moving on. And each mission from now on really does come down to this. Slowly advance through the map, capture points, build defenses, reinforce squads, push onward. And eventually, you'll find a machine cult building.
Emperor be praised. The machine cult is still intact. We must get a servitor to finish its construction immediately. The revered dreadnoughts are standing by. Build them at the machine cult.
This means we can now make dreadnoughts. In the 40k lore, these are walking, weaponized tombs of fallen marines, and in the game they are slow-moving blobs of hit points and firepower, so I walk 3 dreads through and liberate the city.
Knock it off, all of yous. We's moving out. We's not gonna stay and fight. We've been waiting and waiting to fight these Marine boys, and we's gonna stomp them back good. To do that, we need the strength of all the boys, not a small, weak mob of rats like yous boys.
Mission 4, and the game crashes, so we pray to the machine spirit and follow the ancient rituals of turn it off and on again, and then discover that the orcs aren't working alone.
Them Humies is in for a good stomping. This is gonna be the best fight of their miserable lives.
Just make sure it's the last fight of their lives.
I don't take orders from you, Humie.
We've held up our side of the bargain, have we not? You wanted to face the Imperium's greatest warriors, the Space Marines. They are here.
The thought of kowtowing to these creatures disgusts me.
The orcs are a tool, nothing more. And quite an effective one, I might add.
So the orcs are working with, or for, the forces of Chaos. Chaos Lord Bale and Chaos Sorcerer Sindri are obviously using the orcs as some kind of distraction while they do something. Mission 4, new units, long-range whirlwind tanks and assault jetpack marines, melee fighters with jump packs. You start up on this ledge, and what you're meant to do is use the whirlwinds to clear the orc encampment below before jumping down to it. However, for some reason, my whirlwinds just don't fire on the enemy buildings, even when I tell them to. Even if I manually tell them to fire at the ground, nothing happens. I spend a while moving them around trying to fix this, but eventually I just jump my marines down and take out a building at a time, retreating and reinforcing the squad between each attack. But I was curious, so I googled this, and it turns out this is a common complaint, because the whirlwinds are set to ceasefire stance, shown down here, and you have to manually change them to attack stance, but the game's never told you this before. This is done so if you do jump your marines down, you don't accidentally blow up your own guys with the AoE explosions from the whirlwinds. This is a perfect example of how the campaign could integrate the tutorial instead of having it be separate. Because, I mean, if you turn that attack stance on, whirlwinds just obliterate things. It's a real shame that this happens because that means most players' first experience of a whirlwind is one of frustration, not one of awesome explosions. Clear the orcs, build a base, and rush to build dreadnoughts. You're capped to 5 plasma generators per HQ, so this can take some time, and this is another rather repetitive gameplay loop you'll see in the campaign. The first 50 minutes of every mission is just spent building up an overwhelming force and then steamrolling the rest of the map, because that is the most efficient way to finish any mission. Onto this orc bridge, and the first almost total wipe of the campaign, the Orc Squiggoth. This thing is an absolute wall. It is good at ranged, it's good in melee, it's got more health and defense than anything you've seen so far, and it actually kills all of my dreadnoughts and Gabriel. Now, when your important characters die, they do just respawn at your headquarters. The Squiggoth is meant to be a moment where you learn how to use your army well, to block off with dreadnoughts, to use missile marines behind, to maybe sneak in with scouts. But on normal, hard, or even insane, that doesn't quite end up working the way you think it would do. The best thing to do is just lure the Squiggoth down the ramp into the negative cover of the water so it takes more damage, and then throw wave after wave of your own men at it until it dies, just as the Emperor intended. 45 minutes later, the orcs are gone, and unfortunately, an Inquisitor arrives.
The Orc warboss has been destroyed, but we saw a dropship leave the area. Captain, she bore the 8-pointed star.
The mark of the ruinous powers of chaos.
The forces of chaos? Here? Now?
Tartarus has endured several Black Crusades led by the terrible Chaos Champions. However, it seems too convenient that orcs and these heretics are here at the same time. Isidore, do you sense anything?
No, I have sensed nothing.
Our honored guest has arrived.
Who is it?
Inquisitor Mordecai Toth, protector of the Emperor's divine word and will.
Is he here to take command?
An Inquisitor may have near unlimited power. Yes, he can commission the service of any Imperial citizen, from peasant to planetary governor, but
I shall not cede command of my Space Marines to him, Inquisitor or not. If chaos taints this world, then that explains his presence. We must share with him what we discovered. Inquisitor Toth, welcome to Tartarus.
Thank you, Captain. But we have little time for courtesies. You and your men must leave Tartarus. Now.
In 40k, the Inquisition are the final word of the Imperium of Man. They can take command of entire Imperial Guard regiments or even Space Marine chapters, or their highest power, Order Exterminatus, which is completely destroying a planet, only done in the most dire of circumstances.
This warp storm could trap us here for a month or for a century. We must evacuate Tartarus before it arrives in 3 days' time.
The Imperial Guard and Holy Fleet can attend to the evacuation. The Blood Ravens have more pressing matters to contend with.
Such as?
I believe agents of chaos have taken strong root here.
I sense no taint here. Even so, were there a chaos presence on Tartarus, it is better we leave them here with the orcs than waste more lives fighting them.
That is a matter for my brothers and I to decide. We will use these 3 days to settle our affairs and satisfy our suspicions. Meanwhile, you have our transports to facilitate evacuation.
Colonel Brom, the captain and I must attend to matters of faith. If you would leave us, please.
But surely this involves me as a...
Forgive me for not being clear on the matter. I said please, when in fact I meant now.
This does involve him. You should have shown him a modicum of respect.
Captain, you uncovered extensive heresy on your home world. Cyrene, was it?
That has nothing to do with the events here on Tartarus.
But I believe they do. You requested the Inquisition undertake an exterminatus, the destruction of your planet's entire populace, which we obliged. I am not questioning your loyalty, but I must wonder if your actions on Cyrene have not affected your judgment. I merely fear that you might see chaos, but it does not exist.
The coming storm will trap our enemies here, where they can consume one another.
And what if the forces of chaos escape the system before the storm? No. We will not use this freak occurrence as an excuse to avoid our enemies, or our responsibility. They are here for a reason, and we will discover that reason.
The humans are coming your way in full force. You should hear their heavy feet long before you see them, and smell them long before that.
So, more reveals and more twists. It seems Gabriel Angelo, our honoured hero, actually ordered the exterminatus of his own home planet of Cyrene, and while Gabriel knows this was the right thing to do, he clearly harbours guilt over doing it. But it seems we're not alone. While this conversation's happening, we're being watched by an Eldar sniper. Why are the Eldar here? What the hell is on Tartarus that everyone wants? So Mission 5. Inquisitor Toth is now a controllable unit, and this opens up even more buildings to us. The sacred artifact for producing more characters, including an apothecary for healing our infantry. We push on and find some more orcs fleeing.
We'll move ahead and mark any enemy positions. On patrol.
They weren't attacking.
Getting into
They
position.
were fleeing.
What could inspire fear in an orc?
I like how passing the fleeing orc squad was done in-game and not via a cutscene. Made it feel like something happening live right now, which we weren't expecting. The Eldar are covering this high pass, but that's okay. We've now got armoured rhino transports. Pile in the troops, pass by the sniper fire, and retake the high ground. This brings a new unit, the Hellfire Dreadnought, foregoing melee weapons for way more ranged firepower, missiles, and eventually las cannons. And oh look, a Chaos Rhino part of the scenery. Guess we're getting close. Advance through the Eldar and Orc skirmish, killing both sides, and eventually find a rather macabre altar.
So the good Inquisitor senses no chaos here. How fortunate for the Imperium that such keen-eyed eagles stand vigil over her gates.
What dark crafts have these Eldar invoked?
None. At least not here. The servants of Chaos sacrificed this poor guardsman themselves.
To what end, Isidore?
I know not. I believe the altar is a marker, a waypoint in a map that leads elsewhere.
Brother Isidore, you have an hour to study the altar. Document everything as is our tradition. Then burn it, lest its taint infect us all.
But Gabriel, there is much to learn from here. We should not be too eager to...
Learn what? Chaos does not teach. It misleads and it betrays. There is nothing to learn here, save for our next course. These transports have been damaged somehow. Make the repairs, and be quick.
Well, Brother Isidore, what betrayal have you wrought? Disabling your own vehicles? Harboring artifacts despite your good captain's instructions?
Gabriel does not understand. He does not appreciate the significance of this.
No, but I do.
Quiet, heretic. Once I find what you seek, I will use it against you for the glory of the Emperor and my brothers.
Well, then come to me. I wait at Mount Korath.
Have no fear, sorcerer. I will be there.
Ooh, even more twists and turns, including a literal camera twist. This is known as a Dutch angle, used in filmmaking to enhance unease, fear, or to frame unexpected events. Here it's used when our good librarian Isidore is spending even more time talking to the ghost of Chaos Sorcerer Sindri, as we learn Isidore is willing to sabotage our own rhinos just to spend some more time studying this Chaos artifact. He's also told to visit a nearby mountain for more answers, and he says he will. On to Mission 6, where Inquisitor Toth suggests, perhaps rightfully so, we should all just leave.
The Imperial Guard is barely keeping order in the major population centers, sacrificing their lives long enough to hold back the green tide of the Orcs. They are truly warriors of the Emperor.
Exalted Farseer, the humans are moving, traversing the slope as you predicted. They are walking into our trap.
Yes, but you can never ambush a space marine. Remember that. They expect treachery at every turn. You can only validate their suspicions.
Are you certain?
Yes, the path to Mount Korath. This is where the altar said we must go. Why? Do you question my findings?
I do not question your abilities, Brother Librarian, but I do question their tactical sense. That mountain pass is the perfect location for an ambush.
Listen to the distrust in his voice. He probably calls you mutant behind your back, but he fears your divinity, your power. You must put the child at ease.
I do not deny that this is likely a trap, which is all the more proof that our enemy lies in this direction.
Very true, old friend. Stay alert and follow my lead. I want no mistakes.
Agreed.
I like how Gabriel praises the Imperial Guard. That's rare to see from a Space Marine, and Isidore is seeing even more Chaos Ghosts, but here's a bit I really like. The Scouts use the invisibility upgrade in the cutscene, again tying the cutscenes and gameplay together both visually and mechanically. Our problem is now twofold. Eldar and Orcs. So we take the Eldar out, and the Imperial Guard stick a regiment of men and tanks covering the eastern flank, stopping any Orc advances. Now on normal difficulty, you don't need to worry about this, it will hold its own. On hard or insane, you do have to play fast, or this force will slowly get depleted. This is the first mission you feel ready for, in terms of control, and the variation of buildings and units available to you. There's not much more to learn mechanically, and you now have enough choice to try some tactics here. Unfortunately, it does boil down to throw a lot of Marines at it and win, but hey, at least you have got choice. This is, however, the first mission where the enemy will actively target your listening posts and try to recapture strategic points from you, so defense is a bit more important. And I love this bit where you rescue 2 forgotten Imperial Guards. It's not part of the mission objectives, you just find them randomly.
Thank the Emperor you're here. I think Command forgot about us.
How long have you been here?
About a week.
You held this position for a week? By yourselves?
Yes, my lord. We've seen some pretty freaky stuff, too. Come on. We'll show you.
If you rescued them, they offer to show you something, but it's not really important. You can't control them, and more often than not, they'll just run into an Eldar ambush and die. In this mission, you also get access to the Predator tank, the best Space Marine vehicle. Tough, powerful, and you can upgrade the main battle cannon and 2 side guns to las cannons for great anti-vehicle, anti-building damage. The cool thing about las cannons on either Predators or Dreadnoughts is they knock enemy vehicles around, interrupting charging times and firing animations. Fight through a super tough Eldar defense of this mountain to uncover more chaos secrets.
We are still unearthing more Eldar explosives and demolition charges, but we dare not move them.
Was this a trap?
No. By the placement of the charges, it is likely they plan to collapse this area, burying the marker and anyone near it.
They failed. Isidore, study the marker and see where it leads us next.
Captain, Inquisitor Toth has arrived.
Of course he has.
Yes, Captain, it is an impressive sight. But I never claimed Chaos had never set foot on this planet before. I said that if something were here, the impending warp storm would eliminate that threat. Best we not remain to share its fate.
And as I explained, Inquisitor, the Blood Ravens will remain until the last possible moment. Until that happens, in 2 or 3 days hence, I plan on pursuing this riddle.
Captain, I do not presume to question your decisions concerning the Blood Ravens. But when it comes to employing the Colonel's Imperial Guard in your quest...
My quest? Yet again you accuse me of pursuing my personal interests. It is my duty, and yours, to expunge any scent of heresy or chaos.
You overstep yourself.
As do you, Inquisitor. It is not the Colonel's Imperial Guard. Their lives belong to the Emperor. It is by his mandate and will that I use the Imperial Guard against the forces of disorder and elevate them in the glory of holy battle.
I see now that coming here was a mistake. If you are set on a path that will lead you to destruction, I can do nothing to stop you. But I won't allow you to drag us down with you. By inquisitorial edict, I am taking control of the planet Tartarus. All requests for planetary resources, including its military, will go through me, Captain. From this point on, you and your men are on your own.
Do you understand what is asked of you?
You cannot ask that which I offer freely, Farseer. My life is yours.
It belongs to all Elder now, brave one. You will become the war cry made manifest. The host is assembled, and we fully commit ourselves to the battle. You are the best of us. May Kala Mencha Kane find you worthy of becoming his avatar.
You cost us the key, Sindri. The false Emperor's lackeys and Eldar will battle for the city. They are not but hapless fools before your might, Lord Bale. Surely, a modicum of patience is in order here.
Just a bit longer, and then the key will be mine.
So the Chaos Artifact is a key to something, and the Eldar have summoned their Avatar of Cain, an inspiring sight. The plan here is chase Chaos down and find out what the key opens, but also take out the Eldar Avatar if we can. It actually starts really close to you and doesn't respawn. Killing it weakens all Eldar forces on the map, so it's a good idea to do this. This mission introduces relic points, captured just like strategic points, but if you hold all the relics in a level, you unlock super powerful units, or the ability to build them. In this case, Space Marine Terminators, super heavy infantry. The AI pathfinding in the city is dire, and then we have to take and hold this point for 2 minutes to open the bridge. Very easy with enough dreadnoughts. Take all the relics and now we can build Terminators. You can build them in either the Chapel Barracks or the Orbital Relay Building, but if you do build them in the Orbital Relay Building, they have Deep Strike, which means once they're made, they don't appear instantly. You can drop them anywhere on the map that you have visibility. This adds another use to scouts. You can sneak into the enemy base, see things, and then drop Terminators onto them. So we recapture the city and finally confront the Eldar.
It lies within reach now. You sense its power, do you not? Still think you have the strength to use it against me. All that stands in your way is the Farseer.
Kill me, obliterate my body, and cast my name to the wind. But you must heed me. Bury that which lies beneath my feet. It will undo us all. I may be your enemy in this, but we both have a greater foe.
Do not listen, Gabriel. We must destroy this alien.
She knows much. Much we need to learn.
What could she offer but lies? Do not trust her, Gabriel.
The key! No! Damn you!
Who was that alien? What did he steal?
A key. The last step along a bloody path.
A key to what?
The undoing of us all.
Stop speaking in riddles. Tell me what this key does.
You do not know. Your Inquisitor keeps you on a short leash. He knows. Ask him. Your enemies have taken position in the Danan City sector.
The great enemy managed to steal the key from out of our very grasp. Damn the Eldar and their arrogance. We know now that we face more than mere chaos cults, but members of an actual traitor legion. The very Marines who turned against our Emperor some 10 millennia ago.
My lord, blood ravens approach from the south.
How did they get so close? My lord, these flies are minor annoyances. We have the key and ample bodies to imprison the blood ravens behind a wall of corpses. We have received a message, Lord Bale. We have a new ally who is more than ready to betray the blood ravens. Excellent. Prepare for what is to come and dispose of this idiot.
Why? How have I failed?
You were stupid enough to personally deliver ill news to Lord Bale, and we cannot abide stupidity.
Brother Mattiel, report.
The Chaos Forces have rent an impassable chasm through the center of the city and have taken up position in a temple.
They are performing a ceremony to release the key from its bindings. We must stop them.
Yes. We will need to break down the mighty doors of that once glorious temple.
So the Eldar's goals of stopping chaos might temporarily align with our own. The Inquisitor might be lying to us, and our librarian friend is flirting with a chaos power. Not a great all-round position to be in. It seems the only people that have their ideas together are the Imperial Guard. I also love how Chaos Sorcerer Sindri uses his actual in-game ability in the cutscene. So now we're fighting alongside the Eldar to secure the Chaos Artifact, some form of key, before Chaos can use it to open whatever it locks away. This mission brings the Chaos Marine enemies, way tougher than Orcs and faster than Eldar. This map is also also much bigger. And you actually need to use the Assault Marine's jump pack ability to cross a chasm. There's no other way to get across, but this does bring another issue. Remember that troop cap? Well, I built a load of troops on the wrong side of the chasm and I can't kill them or get rid of them, so now I'm stuck with alive squads taking up space on the cap that I can't use. Thankfully, I can rely on good old dreadnoughts to just plow through the city and knock down the doors of the chapel where the Chaos are holding their little tea party. I love how the doors actually fall in, and inside we find Traitor Imperial Guard. Guess I've spoke too soon. They're fallen to the taint of Chaos, so we dispense the Emperor's swift mercy. It's actually a shame that Chaos Guard aren't an official faction. I do love the art design. This mission ends when you've killed all of the corrupt guardsmen, and this takes a while because it's a big map, but once they are all mopped up, good old Inquisitor Toth is back with more news.
Inquisitor Toth has arrived at your request.
And what do our scouts say?
The guard's distraction was a success. The Chaos Lord and his host escaped. We are, however, tracking their movements and questioning some of the traitor guard that we captured.
How could I not have seen this? How is it I am blind when it matters the most?
Are you referring to these traitorous guardsmen or the destruction of your homeworld, Cyrene?
I should have seen the rot before it spread. Instead, I was blind for far too long. I put my own world to the torch. I killed with the Inquisition's eager sanction and watched too many innocents die in a holy firestorm. And yet, here I am again at yet another doorstep, with the executioner's blade in my very hand.
Blessed is the mind too small for doubt, Gabriel. Perhaps there is truth in there, for the both of us.
I still believe, old friend. I believe in the sovereign might of the Golden Throne, and in the purity of the Imperium.
But you have lost faith in yourself.
Only in what I see, Isidore.
And what is it that you see, Captain?
I see conspirators and liars more concerned with their own agenda than the will of the Emperor.
I am not so easily cowed by such displays, Captain.
You lied to me and cost me men.
Better they die, their blood pure. I warned you to leave this world. To leave Tartarus for the warp storm.
Your words still ring untrue, Inquisitor. I know you were here before we arrived.
I am not in the habit of explaining my actions, Captain. But yes, I was here before you arrived, stalking after horrors to strip my knights of their dreams.
Are we faithful men, Toth? Good servants of the Emperor? It is time for us to put aside our differences.
Thousands of years ago, an artifact of ancient evil power was lost here. The forces of Chaos seek this artifact. They've sought it for centuries, but have never held all the pieces of the puzzle.
And now they do.
A key to unearth the artifact itself.
What is this artifact?
A stone, called the Maledictum. It contains a creature of great evil, a creature of chaos itself, one of untold power.
And the Eldar, did they seek this power for themselves?
No. It was they who imprisoned the demon in the first place. As Chaos's most ancient enemy, they see themselves as the only capable defense against its influence. Together, we have a better chance of finding and destroying the Maledictum.
They are weak, terrified of the power that you alone are strong enough to control. It is all yours for the taking.
The Maledictum is mine.
All power demands sacrifice. Sindri! What, my lord? The traitor Imperial Guardsmen have fallen. So quickly. I expected them to last a bit longer.
We will launch a two-prong assault against the temple with the help of several guardsman units who remain loyal to the Emperor. We must stop our adversaries from uncovering the Maledictum.
Come with me. You have new orders. We know of a hidden way into the temple. Tell no one else.
So the artifact is called the Maledictum, an ancient and powerful chaos thing, and Librarian Isidore is now fully convinced its power should belong to him. Mission 9, the planet Tartarus has basically fallen. Between orc raids, chaos corruption, and Eldar interference, it's all but doomed. Sindri, the Chaos Sorcerer, is definitely the brains behind all of this, and Chaos Lord Bale is just a useful idiot. However, Gabriel cannot let Chaos leave with the artifact, so the Blood Ravens and what loyal Imperial Guard remain join forces and push on. This mission is one of the hardest because of how it demands you split your army. You have to micromanage 4 smaller battles at once. The ultimate objective is to take and hold the 4 relics surrounding the central base, itself filled with chaos buildings and vehicles. Once you've taken all 4 relics, you must hold them all for 3 minutes, while Chaos try to take all 4 back. One of the saving graces here, though, is you start the mission with a battalion of Imperial Guard troops and 8 tanks, which start damage but slowly regain health over time. The enemy, unfortunately, now have Chaos Commanders, characters of their own, and Horrors, Chaos Demons immune to morale damage. But the worst of the enemy arsenal are the Obliterators, the Chaos equivalent of our Terminators. Super tough, good at range, better at melee. They are a hard counter to our infantry, so you will need Dreadnoughts. An interesting mechanic here, though. If you take all 4 relics, then the 3-minute timer begins. If you lose a relic during this time, the timer ends. Now, when you take it back, you'd expect the timer to start again, but no, it actually carries on from where it was, so it's a total of hold for 3 minutes, but not all in a single go. After 3 minutes, Chaos Sorcerer Sindri finally shows his true colours, and we get an actual emotional, heartfelt line from Gabriel to Isidore.
Sindri! Sindri!
Lord Bale. The ritual failed to break the protective seal guarding the stone, but then I already anticipated it would not work. In fact, I counted on it. We require a larger sacrifice. It is time. Leave him.
How dare you, sorcerer!
My lord, never forget all power demands sacrifice. Thank you for yours. As I promised, yours for the taking.
Old friend?
That single line, old friend, that stings. Gabriel had so much mutual respect for Librarian Isidore, and now the corruption of chaos has taken it all away. Gabriel Angelos ordered an exterminatus on his own planet because he knew it was the right thing to do, and now he has to kill his oldest friend. That's hard.
I had seen the power of the librarians and their neophytes, but none who wielded the kind of raw power, ability, and will that Isidore possessed. He was truly a great man. He will be missed. Now I go to destroy the traitorous individual who inhabits Isidore's form. Emperor, give me strength. Make ready. We have wasted enough time and suffered for it.
Agreed. But we know nothing of our enemy or his intentions. Bale was someone's pawn. Sindri, he called him.
Sindri is not my concern. Isidore is. He has fallen, and he will find me at his doorstep.
Now you know the full weight of my original concerns. I must admit, I was surprised that it was Isidore who succumbed.
I know. You suspected me.
It takes either steel or rot to willingly condemn your own world, your very family, to the torch. I sensed the seed of chaos in your midst, and you seemed too eager to uncover this planet's secrets. But I was so certain the taint stemmed from you that I failed to notice its true source in Isidore. I was wrong, Captain.
You allowed me to take the stone. You were true to your word, and for that you are a fool.
Lord Bale was likewise foolish in believing me defenseless.
Make it stop! Please! You cannot abandon me now!
Oh, but I can, and I do. At least I leave you in good company. Now prove yourself worthy. Go, spill the blood of those who were your brothers. Spill the blood. Blood for the Blood God.
While Isildur's intentions may have been pure, chaos always corrupts, so the mission is simple. Hunt down and destroy all chaos units, including confronting and killing Librarian Isildur. This is made more challenging by the greater demon you'll encounter halfway through, but check this out. If Gabriel is in melee combat with the demon when you kill it, you'll get a unique melee kill animation, where he climbs it, slices its neck, and then crushes its head on the ground, which is very satisfying. This mission drags toward its end because it's a huge map and you need to clear all of it, and the final confrontation with Isildur is honestly quite anticlimactic. He does try to fight back, but is super easy to kill. He doesn't use any of his librarian powers or any new chaos powers, and after beating him in the game, Gabriel confronts him in a cutscene.
Of all my brothers, why you? You were stronger than this.
I am stronger than you ever imagined. I can feel the universe tremble at my approach. Even the gods know my name.
No one will remember you, traitor. I will see to that.
Pathetic. You were great once, before doubt addled your will. Before you rendered judgment on Cyrene. Before you murdered the innocent and guilty, all in one stroke. You weak, sorry fool! How does it feel to have slain millions? To have betrayed your own family?
I betrayed no one. Innocents die so that humanity may live. I ended their suffering, as I will end yours.
You have beaten me. I cannot believe it. I was wrong, Gabriel. So wrong. I thought I was strong. Strong enough to control it. I wanted to use the power for good, for the Imperium. You must see that. You must give me the chance to make amends, to seek redemption.
If redemption is what you seek, then that is what I will give you. This is the fate of traitors. Remember this, and do not stray. If you do, I will be ready to render you the same service.
We have little time left. We must assume Sindri has released the demon.
Then our course is clear. We must destroy it. However meager our armaments are today, the demon will not find our hearts lacking.
I know. I believe you, Captain. Here.
What is this?
A demon hammer. God Splitter. We have always intended to destroy the demon within the stone. Would we not appear the fools without the means to dispense our wills?
You entrust this artifact to me?
I can think of no better champion to wield God Splitter against the demon. And you can call it a premonition. But I believe you will end this fight, not I. It is upon us! Bear witness to my ascension!
Pure hearts and the Emperor's word are more than a match for these abominations.
So despite our best efforts during our petty squabble with the Eldar, we are momentarily distracted, and Chaos Sorcerer Sindri succeeds, takes the Maledictum, and transforms himself into a demonic Chaos Prince. So Mission 11, the final mission, hunt down and kill Sindri. Inquisitor Toth gifting Gabriel his hammer, the God Splitter, is a sign of immense respect, and Gabriel in this mission is an absolute beast in melee combat. The map of the final mission is closer to the Greek myth of Tartarus, fire and brimstone, jagged peaks and lava rivers. You're fighting alongside the Eldar again, and this is a long mission. Well, it can be, unless you use a rather sneaky tactic. A tactic we learnt back in Mission 2. Remember those scouts and their handy-dandy invisibility? Turns out you can actually just walk some scouts right into Sindri's base from the start, shoot Sindri once, and then lure the Demon Prince all the way back to your starting base, where you actually start with enough troops to take him down without building anything. This is all you need to do to win the mission. Doesn't matter if Chaos have forces left, once Sindri dies, it is done. Now don't get me wrong, it's a long fight, and it does help that his AI scripting broke halfway through and he just stood there taking damage, but eventually you will take him down, and now you can destroy the Maledictum artifact, but the Eldar beg you not to.
Human! Do not destroy the stone! You will doom us all!
Ignore her, Captain. Destroy the stone before it leads others to ruin.
You know not what you do! We cannot allow this. Take this human down!
No!
Fool! You have damned us all.
Well done, Captain. Let us bid haste, brothers. The fleet is about to depart and leave us stranded.
I am free. You have my thanks.
Show yourself, demon.
I will. Soon. Until then, go forth and spread word of my return.
I am not your herald, warp spawn.
I'm not. You released me. Yes. Free. And know I will soon come to claim you all.
Then come and find your judgment waiting. You have escaped captivity, only to face annihilation. I know you now.
So it was all part of a bigger plot, but you actually knew this from the beginning. The planet named Tartarus doesn't mean hell, it means deep prison, a cage of demons. The entire planet was an altar to Khorne, the blood god, and Sindri planned all of this. The Orc offensive, the Space Marine response, the corrupted guardsmen, the Eldar involvement, all of it, just to add bloodshed. And now Gabriel has broken the seal and released a greater demon of chaos somewhere. And that's the main campaign. But don't worry, there's a load more single-player goodness in the 3 expansions, none of which address the released Chaos Demon again, but instead focus on different, more local things. Winter Assault came out 1 year later in 2005 and lets you play as the Imperial Guard trying to rescue a Titan, with the final mission of the campaign featuring a battle against the Necrons, which was a hint at the next expansion, Dark Crusade, in 2006. This features a clash between 2 new playable races, the Necrons and the Tau, and the campaign format is changed substantially here. Instead of a linear story-based campaign, it's now more like Risk, or the old Galactic Conquest mode from Star Wars Battlefront, where you choose a location and then go and attack it, fighting your way across the galaxy. One of the cool touches of Dark Crusade is when you put buildings on planets, if that planet then gets attacked when you return to it, your buildings are still there. Dark Crusade still sits at 87 on Metacritic, with 97% of the critical reviews being positive, and it has a 96% overwhelmingly positive score on Steam. It is, without a doubt, one of the best expansion packs for one of the best real-time strategy games. Then 2 years later, in 2008, we got the final expansion, Soulstorm, which brings the Sisters of Battle and the Dark Eldar, and another Galactic Conquest-style campaign where you can now play as any of the 9 total available races from every expansion and fight your way across. Interestingly, Soulstorm is both an expansion and a standalone game, because you don't need the base game or the 2 other expansions to play the campaign of Soulstorm. However, if you want to play online and you only own Soulstorm, you're only able to play as the Sisters of Battle or the Dark Eldar, the 2 factions introduced in that expansion. Of these expansions, Dark Crusade is often considered the best. It had a longer development time and was made by Relic. Soulstorm, on the other hand, was joint made by both Relic and Ironstorm Entertainment and lacked several features Dark Crusade had. The campaign of Soulstorm didn't maintain your buildings on each conquered planet. Steam reviews often mention this, and the Sisters of Battle were massively overpowered in multiplayer. It is still a well-made game, holding a 95% overwhelmingly positive score on Steam, but slightly shy of Dark Crusade in polish. I even hopped into a few online matches against my friend Mr. Greggles, because amazingly, the Steam servers are still online. And Greg, why would you play Necrons? Necrons are stupidly overpowered. They've only got to worry about one resource, power, and when their monolith is online, you just traipse across the map destroying everything. Oh, now you're playing Tau, are you? That's just as bad. Their weapons are really powerful, and their units are cheap. You know what? In true Warhammer style, the most overpowered army is the one that I'm playing against at any given moment. Each of these expansions deserves a deep look of its own, but for now we'll stick with the base game. Having finished it and played a few online matches, was it actually any good? Dawn of War does two things very well. First, it gets the feel of Warhammer 40k, and the feel of a game of Warhammer. The models look brilliant. They are exactly what you've seen on the tabletop. They look, move, sound and fight like you would picture your plastic tabletop guys doing. The scenery looks like Warhammer scenery. They've brought the vibe of Warhammer to the game without removing any of the tabletop's soul. The characters are a little over the top without being one-dimensional. There's themes of extreme zealotry, fanaticism, good versus evil, and shades of grey. They've nailed the heavy, dutiful feel of the Space Marines. The silly, war-loving orcs, the human and nervous Imperial Guard, the arrogant Eldar, and the voice acting fits all of these. Then, on top of the aesthetic perfection, they've made a very good mechanical game. Having squads instead of models allows for smaller skirmishes to feel meaningful. Winning a battle by a single model, then reinforcing to max before moving on. Attaching characters to squads for ease of issuing orders. Character abilities feeling powerful and substantial. Vehicles being scary and tough, and everything having a counter makes variety the name of the game. Capturing points to gain resources harkens to both the tabletop game with holding objectives and encourages spreading around the battlefield. And needing to hold a relic to build powerful stuff keeps the powerful units feeling special. The limited customization, from micromanaging your building upgrades to upgrading squads with heavy weapons, walks that fine line between enough choice to be meaningful but not too much that it becomes overwhelming. Now, it's not a perfectly made game. The tutorial being in the skirmish mode and presented differently to the rest of the game actually makes learning a very slow, dull affair. The camera is way too zoomed in and needs a mod to fix. The audio overlaps and the lines repeat a lot. And the pathfinding or the enemy AI is questionable at the best of times, but these are smaller mistakes in an overall brilliant experience. Quite simply, Dawn of War got it right 20 years ago. And when you play it today, it's crazy to think they got this right 2 decades ago. Dawn of War 2 and 3, however, changed the gameplay substantially, and I'm sure I'll get round to reviewing those sometime, and we'll work out why they are not held in as high regard. So, to end the review, I will award Dawn of War 1...
Walk softly and carry a big gun.
Out of 10. Cheers for watching. Another massive thank you to the supporters on Patreon and Twitch for keeping the channel alive. You can support from only £1 a month. Check the video description for links to the Patreon, Twitch, Twitter, and our Discord. And as always, remember...
While the enemies of the Emperor still draw breath, there can be no peace.
Anything like it. Maintain attack formation. Orders received, brother.
On alert, brothers. The enemy must be nearby.